What if we sat down with some of the most interesting people that you've ever heard of and actually allowed them to brag, to take off their humble robe and tell us about their greatest achievement? My name is Jose Pina, founder of Your Nonverbals Are Showing, and I've gotten the chance to meet and network with some of the most interesting people that have done some really big things. I want to sit them down and really give them a chance to brag and highlight some of their most huge successes. Here's the next episode. Hello and welcome everyone to the Humble Brag Show. So this is one of my new projects that I want to start. My name is Jose Pina, and the idea of this was to really sit down with some people that I've met and networked with and interview them to kind of find out of what some of the big things that they've done and really get their stories and just allow them. I just wanted to sit them down and allow them to actually brag about some of the cool things that they've done, because a lot of people that I met that I know really have done some big things that kind of just go over and don't really pay attention. But today with me, I have Matt Velasquez of KYST 920 AM and the founder of the podcast Houston, which is where we're at right now. This is the studio space that we're in. This is the technology that we're using. So, Matt, welcome to the first episode, the first show, the pilot. This is obviously a practice and a test run for everything else.
Hello, Mr. Pina. It's a pleasure to be here in studio with you today. Thank you.
That's his professional voice. We practice on Matt's professional voice. It's okay, Matt. We have a lot going on right now as far as streaming and recording and everything. But let us know.
There's like 20 cameras going on in here at the same time. I'm intimidated.
Capturing everything.
Millennial.
Yeah, I got to get all the angles, all the views. But Matt, what I want to ask my people that I get before we go into the big chunk of, letting you brag and everything that you've done, all the cool shit. And this is an explicit show, by the way. So
you cursed.
I already moved. I already have the explicit label on my stuff. So yes,
I don't know if I can be a part of this. I just mijo.
If only people knew. If only people knew. Some people who know. Matt, just give me a quick little 5-minute recap of. I'm just going to call it the 5-minute life recap. So bring us up a little bit with you, how you came up.
I was a large baby.
From the very beginning.
Sorry. So I'm a native Houstonian.
Through and through.
Through and through. Born in Houston, raised in Sugar Land.
Okay.
So grew up in Sugar Land. I went to private Catholic school my entire life. So that's why I'm very nice and very naughty at the same time.
Okay.
But went to school right across the road here from the studio.
Nearby.
So nearby. Went to school there at St. Francis de Sales. Then I moved on to Strake Jesuit for high school. After Strake, I went to Austin for college to St. Edward's University.
Is that it?
Yeah,
it's how you do it?
So for people who can't see, the St. Ed's logo mascot, or the hand gesture for St. Edward's, it's like UT. So think of the UT horns, but then curve the horns down, because our mascot's like a little ram guy. So we say we're like UT, only half as good. So, but anyway, so I went to St. Ed's for college.
What did you actually study there?
Business administration,
Okay.
Concentration in management.
Makes sense.
And so I had no idea what I wanted to do with that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I wanted to be in business. The only reason I did that is because my family was in business. I was like, oh, well, I guess that's what I have to do, because I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. So I studied business, graduated in 2004 from St. Ed's. And then I started looking for my own job from there.
Okay.
I was sending out resumes. I was doing, interviews. I had no intention of working for our family business, which was a radio station.
Yeah.
I started helping out here at the office while I was looking for my job, and I like to tell people that I'm still looking for my own job. So if anyone out there is hiring, I
need a CEO with experience.
No, but it just stuck where my dad was still working here, and I was helping him out.
Yeah.
So it stuck. I decided I'd keep working here. Realistically, I wasn't going to move back to Houston, though. And so when I graduated from St. Ed's in Austin, I had actually planned to stay in Austin.
Yeah.
But I started dating my girlfriend when I graduated from college. So Jennifer, I've known Jennifer since high school. So when we were going to,
Hi, Jen.
So Well, she was friends with my girlfriend, so that's how I
It's
knew
all
her.
connected somehow.
But no, it's we met in high school. Were best friends through all college. She went to A&M. I was at St. Ed, so we stayed connected. And then after I graduated and I was looking for a job, we started dating.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, there's a girl who likes me. Let me move to Houston.
I'm
Then
gonna follow that.
I'm gonna follow that lead. And so it was a click funnel. That's the way I kind of got her.
Wow.
But
I'm about to say, did you just connect business with relationships? Yes, you did. That happened.
So I ended up moving back to Houston after I graduated, and then again I stuck around, started working for the family business for the radio station.
Cool.
And been here since. So been working here, got married in 2009,
Yeah.
had kids in 2013, and I'm still alive with a lot more gray hair than I had
Alive and kicking.
6 years ago. So
And that might be a little mini humble brag. You have triplets, right?
I have triplets. I have 6-year-old triplets.
So anyone dealing with kids, just remember Matt has
Again,
triplets.
anyone on the Instagram live or seeing this, like you can see the gray hair up here
Yeah.
that's really coming in
They'll
heavy.
see
So
it. You could kind of get in the camera too. So
I'm experienced.
yeah, that's a brag within itself, dealing with 3 kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've come up. That was like a little mini short recap of life, 5-minute recap. Going on into the brags, what I want to hear from people is just basically you and your professional life. Obviously, you've been here, you said, since forever, right? Just helping
Mhm.
out around here. Tell me a little bit. Let's start with the radio. Just there, what are some of the big achievements? I think I've heard one of the biggest ones already. But what is it so special about this radio station, this business that the family has started, and then up to where it is now on the radio side?
So I think what's most special about it is that we're still in business.
For a radio station.
And still in business in general. The fact that we're a radio station that's been around for 36 years, that says a lot.
Yeah.
So since I can be explicit, that's like, holy shit, how are we still
Yeah.
how are we still in business here? So again, we've seen radio stations come and go. And it's interesting how we've been able to stay in business. We've been able to stay profitable. That's probably the biggest thing. Now, from there, again, the 36 years history is huge. I don't, from what I've heard, there's no other media company that's had that kind of longevity as far as single ownership.
Right.
Don't quote me on it. It's just what other people have told me, but
It's just nice to believe.
it sounds cool. So I
It's
think,
nice
yeah,
to
that
believe.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
The fact that we're a family-owned radio station is big. The fact
Yes.
that we are a Hispanic family-owned radio station is huge because many of the Spanish media in Houston in general is not Hispanic-owned. A lot of people don't know that. So the fact that we are a Hispanic family that actually owns our Hispanic platform, Spanish language-based platform, is huge. The fact that we are local, serving the local community. So what I tell everyone, I've had offers to buy other radio stations, try to build a network. But I tell everybody, no, what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to build a network. I'm trying to serve Houston.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm Houston born, Houston raised, I'm the Houston hometown boy. So, to hell with you, Dallas, I'm in Houston.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. It's that, I want to help Hispanic families, especially immigrant families that are coming into Houston. We want to help them assimilate into life in Houston. So we're trying to connect them with local Spanish-speaking professionals that can help them with the home buying process, with retirement,
Several
with
topics,
savings, financial, legal issues, medical issues. Like, we just want to help give resources to the local Hispanic family that will put them on the same playing field as people like myself that are Americanized, have been here for generations and know what's available, and just the ins and outs of living in Houston.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you skimmed over a lot there, but definitely the beginning of, you said 36 years, right? Since it's up and going.
36. 1983 is when my father purchased the radio station, and he bought it because he had several other Hispanic-based businesses. He had some Tejano nightclubs. He had a restaurant, and there wasn't any. There was a Spanish radio station in Houston, but there really wasn't, aside from one station, there wasn't much in Houston. And so he had to buy the platform to change it to a Spanish language radio station in order to promote his other businesses.
I think that's a brag within itself. I know you've mentioned a couple details, but your dad was a huge part in the Tejano community coming up here in Houston. Right?
Yeah. No, he was probably the person that brought Tejano music to Houston.
Yeah.
Back in the late 60s, he really pushed the Tejano scene here. He funded a lot of the bands.
Right.
To help them get started. He put on the concerts in Houston. We were the first Tejano radio station in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
He had 2 Tejano nightclubs. The main one that people knew was called the Stardust.
Yeah.
People from all around Houston, from Beaumont, from Austin, they used to drive in to go to Stardust. It's where Selena got her start as a young child because
Really?
Yeah. So my dad was friends with Abraham,
Okay.
Selena's dad, with Los Dinos.
Yeah.
And so Los Dinos used to play at the Stardust a lot.
Wow.
And so when Selena was getting started, she was a young little girl getting started at my dad's nightclub, kind of playing with her dad as well. So it's kind of a neat little bit of history. And
That's
the
a hell
cool
of a
thing, the
brag.
funny side story. So when they did the Selena movie,
Yeah.
back in the day with Jennifer Lopez, her breakout, they were doing a movie premiere. And so Abraham had called, Selena's dad had called the radio station to try to get a hold of my dad
Yeah.
to invite my parents to the movie premiere.
Mm.
And it was a last minute thing. He forgot to send the invitation. So he called the day of.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing. You get to go to a big movie premiere. And my mom's like, I don't have anything to wear. Let's just stay home. Let's just stay home. I was like, you missed out on that. Like,
Yeah.
go to Dillard's or whatever, go find something.
Go now. You have to be there.
Yes.
Is there could you name any other bands that were big back then that your dad, you said he helped him a lot start?
So I'm not big into Tejano music, so I don't really follow a lot. I know, what was it, Mas? I think Mas was
Grupo
one
Mas?
that he used to support.
Okay.
I know some of the bands like Lil Joe used to play at the club.
Little Joe's a good name.
La Mafia, but La Mafia was like the later, like the newer stuff.
Yeah.
He supported more the older, early '80s groups, and
Okay.
so again, Los Dinos was there. Was it Bobby Pulido's dad? Was that Roberto? So I don't.
that sounds familiar.
Again, I'm more of a punk metalhead rock
Yes,
guy
now you
now.
are.
So
Now you are. Okay. If you're listening, if you're watching, let us know in the comments or send us a message somewhere. What are some of your favorite Tejano bands? Maybe Matt or maybe your dad might know. We'll cross.
my dad for sure will know him.
Yeah. So,
Anyone in the Tejano scene will know my dad.
okay. Well, yeah. If you have a favorite group or anything from Tejano music, from back in the 60s, 70s, you said back in that time.
Yeah, he started stuff in the '60s. I
Okay.
mean, Sonny, what's his name? I can't remember names off the top of my head, but
Sunny
there's
sounds
stuff.
familiar.
Sonny and the Sunliners or whoever it was.
Sunny side up.
Sunny Side Up, Sunny D.
Sunny D. Yeah, let us know. Let us know if you have any of your favorite Tejano bands from back in the days. Maybe we'll cross reference at the station with your dad and see if he remembers or knows them too. Okay, well that's a huge start already from like the music side of things in that industry, mainly quote unquote radio entertainment, that side of things to get going. And then now moving forward, your dad went from that after, I think you said after the Tejano scene was kind of dying, he went into talk radio show.
Yeah, so when Tejano started dying, he closed up the nightclubs. There was an FM station that kind of moved in, and we're just like, well, we don't need to be part of the Tejano scene anymore. So he moved on to talk radio, where let's see, the first reincarnation, I guess, of the progression of the format.
Yeah.
We were the first 24/7 sports talk radio station in Houston in Spanish,
Nice.
known as Radio Deportes.
Okay. That was you guys.
That was us.
Okay.
And so that was, pre ESPN Deportes and all that. Actually, someone told me today ESPN Deportes is no more.
Nah.
Yeah. That as of September 9th that they had to shut down because of overhead issues. Again,
Oops.
longevity. What's that?
What's up, 928?
But
That's a brag itself.
there you go. No, but yeah, it was 24/7 sports. So we did we did a lot of Mexican soccer league. We
Yeah.
broadcast all the Chivas games here. Gold Cup, World Cup, Super Bowl we did in Spanish. We had national syndicated shows like Jorge Ramos, stuff like that.
Okay.
So it was a big deal when we were doing all the sports programming. And then we also, there's been several times during our tenure where we've done the Rockets as their flagship for play-by-play.
Right.
I think that started early 90s, I guess, mid 90s, somewhere in there. And it's progressed on and off here and there. I keep a relationship with some people there.
Right.
But then once we finished as the 24/7 Sports Network, we moved on to 24/7, kind of more informative news, stuff like that.
Kind of what you're doing now, ish.
A little bit, yeah. It was a little bit more
News.
CNN-y,
Yeah, news,
kind of.
news.
I don't think we did that very long just because there's a lot of syndicated programs. And so then we moved on to where we are now with the local professional talk programming.
Yeah. So. And what do you think that progress, is there anyone else doing that kind of talk show right now where they're being informative?
In Houston, there's really not anyone dedicating themselves to doing just, professional talk programming throughout the day. And so the way I explain it is during the week, that's what my focus is right now, is where we're trying to focus as much of our efforts on doing talk programming, health programs, financial, real estate, legal programs, things like that, and throwing in some entertainment of the sports and whatnot. The weekends, we still do some music.
Okay.
But we are working on transitioning out of some of those hours because, again, I don't think radio is made to be a music platform anymore, regardless if it's AM or FM. I think really radio should be a local terrestrial platform for information.
Right.
And so that's what I'm trying to continue moving our platform to.
Well, let's segue into that because that kind of has to do too with your idea of it's a big idea, the way I've talked to you about it before, podcasts now, and just audio in general, how people consume audio now in a digital age. But for you, why is it important to, I'm going to let you brag about the space because this is obviously a nice studio that you've built out here in a minute. But why is it important for you, I guess, the audio consumption going from radio to maybe podcast, digital, on demand, what you call it?
Yeah.
And what are the pros and cons of those two platforms now?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how whenever you have a new technology up, people like to criticize you, or they just like to say how, oh, well, this is going to kill radio. Radio's a dead media. Like, no one's going to listen to radio. The last time that I heard that was when XM radio came around, and they said, oh, that's going to kill radio. It didn't.
It didn't.
And so, and XM is still struggling. And to be quite honest, I'll be surprised how much longer XM lasts because I can get any music I want from my phone whenever I want.
On demand.
Now, the difference I see between radio and something like a podcast platform, radio, again, it's something where you don't really have to think much about it. If you know a format you want to listen to, let's say, local sports, something like that, I know to put the radio on a 790 or something like that. So I don't have to think much with the radio station. It's just I know what I'm trying to listen to, if it's news, if it's sports. With us being in Spanish, if it's just informative program, you just have to turn the radio on and, you'll receive, information and, listen throughout the day. So radio listeners are very loyal.
Yeah.
They'll listen throughout the day. They'll listen at work. They'll listen while driving. So it's just kind of, there's not much effort that has to go into consuming the information. It's just right there being handed to you.
You get
what you need. Yeah. With the podcast side, it's awesome because it's on demand. You access information whenever you want to access it. You start listening to a podcast when you get in the car. When you get out, it stops. When you get back in, it starts right back where you were, so you don't miss a beat.
Right.
The difference there is you do have to be a little bit more conscientious about what do I want to listen to right now.
Right.
And so you have to be like, do I want something political? Do I want something sports-based? Do I want comedy? So you do have to put a little effort in. But again, that's the hottest media right now.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find this merger of how do we merge the two platforms of radio and podcasting together, because kind of look at what happened to television. Television had to go through this metamorphosis of creating the on-demand platforms.
Right.
Because now, there's a lot of times where people don't, back when I was in school or whatever, you used to rush home to go see TGIF on Friday. And so it's like, oh, I got to go see Full House or I got to go see, Family Matters. And so you rushed home and you planned your meals around eating to
TV,
watch TV. Now it's more like, well, if I'm sitting in front of the TV and I want to put it on and I know a show that one is on, cool, I'll put it on.
yeah,
But a lot of times it's more, well, right now I feel like watching, and I don't watch any new television. Jennifer watches Scandal. So it's like,
Scandal.
okay, so yeah, I want to watch Scandal, but she doesn't watch it live. And, it used to be where it's DVR based, but now
Right.
it's where you access the whatever, I don't even know what network Scandal's on. If it's the ABC app or
Yeah,
you access that, you watch it whenever you want, or
on demand.
everyone has like a Hulu subscription now
Mhm.
along with everything else. So you access programming whenever you want.
Yeah.
And so podcast is basically that, is where you access information and shows whenever you want. So I want to see this merger between podcast and radio where, okay, if I am in the car, if I am working, and I don't really want to think of what I want to listen to right now,
Right.
put the radio on and you hear the programming. But let's say it's the real estate show and you miss something or you have something specific you want to hear, go then to the podcast
Back.
platform, which we're producing content for both sides.
Yeah.
And you can listen in an on-demand situation. You can basically go through a database and find, hey, I want to find information about financing a house, or I want to find information about getting into real estate investing.
Right.
You can pinpoint and basically access information whenever you want. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the separation of the two I see, but you will see this
Hybrid.
merger. Yeah. So I'm always about trying to fuse the best of the new technology with what's been tried and true in old
Right.
technology.
Well, one audio again. I think it's one of the first type of media, right? Before even TV, audio,
Yeah.
radio was out before TV,
Yeah.
and it's the easiest way to consume. Where I think what you said is, say YouTube now, right? YouTube
Yeah.
or Netflix, you're watching it. It takes your attention. You can't consume it while you're driving. You
Yep.
can't consume it if you're cooking, right? You can't always swivel your head. But with audio, you could be in a car, you could be in the kitchen, you could be in any
Yep.
room.
Working
it's
out, whatever
auditory,
you want
yeah.
to do. And the neat thing about audio is it engages your mind differently than watching video.
Yeah.
So again, video is just kind of mind numbing. It's odd because you have to be 100% focused on it,
Right.
but it also at the same time is mind numbing.
Yeah.
If you're listening to audio, you can be multitasking, doing other things, but as you're listening to the audio, your brain kind of engages differently. And so
Right.
your imagination kicks in of what do the people look like they're talking, maybe what
yeah.
the studio looks like. Like you really start engaging in this unique way that helps you to retain the information even better.
Yeah.
And so there's something to be said about that, where I know video is king in social media right now, but I bet you're going to start seeing this this boost in audio-based, podcasts and other content where it could catch up to video, potentially could surpass video. You just never know. So it's interesting.
I think it's going to get there because again, yeah, you said video is king, but there's been a lot of people, the big marketing people and everyone saying, hey, try a podcast. And podcast has been rising. We've done
Yeah.
the research for this studio itself, what the importance is and why.
Yeah.
And it's on a rise on all levels, right? The
Oh, yeah.
listening, the age range, the consumption,
Mhm.
the topics, the types of podcasts, the amount of podcasts, everything just keeps moving from, what was it, 2000? I don't know when it started, 2007, 8-ish, 9-ish, I think.
Yeah, I don't even remember. It's been a while. Like, I
Oh.
mean, they've been running for quite some time with the technology, and it's kind of been molding itself as
Yeah.
to what exactly is a podcast. And even today, like there's people who define podcast differently than how I would, or the
Commonly known.
traditional sense of, what podcast is accepted as today. But
Yeah.
you see the data, you see the information, and you do see there's going to be a huge exponential growth over the next few years. And so it's funny how with this studio and the other projects we're working on, the timing was right.
Oh, yeah,
If
this
we
one?
had started this, 2 years ago,
No.
nope, wouldn't have been right.
No.
If we started this 2 years in the future, we would have missed the bus.
Yeah, I think right now you're catching the big wave. You're a little bit ahead on the curve too, just because, like you talked about the merger. I think that's the brag here. Just to kind of boast for you, I think you do have that mentality where you are catching the curve. You are observing the consumption, the attention of where audio is a really good form, where radio used to be it, but now podcast is kind of coming along.
Mhm.
So you need to go and find a middle ground. And I don't know if you want to mention about this plan, but I know you have plans already for that merger. You
Mhm.
have a business plan
Yeah.
in form already, and that you're talking to people that will benefit from this kind of type of hybrid merger that you're talking about, and you have the logistics for it. I don't want to mention it, but I know you're trying to do something with that. So that's a brag within itself. I want
Mhm.
to go ahead and applaud that because you are setting yourself up for that. Okay, even if you were to fail or not to go as big as you want, it would still serve a purpose.
Yeah.
And you are making a point now to maybe in 3 or 4 or 5 years later, people are going to be like, wow, radio and podcast let's go back to listen to Matt because Matt was right.
Yeah, yeah, and I hope so because I radio is such a useful platform. I
Yeah.
mean, it really is. The problem with it is it's being mismanaged. It's being misused right now.
Okay.
But it really is a great technology, even though people want to knock on it a lot because it's the old dinosaur, that's
Yeah.
still kicking around. But realistically, I think you're going to see the old, kind of guard and radio start to die off, and you're going to see some younger blood come in and hopefully change up the game.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, we're trying to change the game right now where we want to do something. Whenever I work or when I try find inspiration for our business, it's never looking at what the rest of the radio world's doing.
Right.
It's what are other people doing, what's Tesla doing, what's Apple doing, what's, the podcast industry doing. And so that way we can try to get innovative on how do we keep radio relevant right now.
And I also wanted to add, just kind of, because I know you've mentioned this before, it's funny, and might want to play devil's advocate, but that before you started doing podcasts and started looking at this, you would say that you're a radio station. And of course, there's that, not to knock on the hobbyist or DIY person, but I know people sometimes introduce themselves as, yeah, I have an online radio station.
It was when, so the problem is people like to copy what I build. And that was frustrating me for a long time. And so there's a lot of people who were associates of mine or clients of mine or whatever. They saw my operations, and then they went to Best Buy, bought them a little USB mic, a computer, and they're like, now I'm a radio station too. I'm like, oh, really? Where you broadcast to? This website. That's not a radio station. And so
where are your 20 plus acres with 4 towers on?
It's not that like, what I do is harder, therefore it carries more clout than what you're doing.
Right. No.
It sounds condescending. It sounds, I can say stuff. It sounds douchebaggy to me.
Yeah. No.
In this sense. But what it was is I was getting frustrated at people always trying to ride on my coattails for
the
stuff.
easy way out.
Yeah. And so I actually had this person. They're not allowed to step foot in my office anymore, by the way. I've already told the front desk, if they come, call security because I'm tired of dealing with them. But they were, I'm part of several groups locally, and there was a organization that I'm part of. They have, luncheons that go on, and I try to attend when I can, when my schedule allows.
Yeah.
But this person that used to be a client of mine here, he spun off and started his own radio TV station. That, again, it's a Facebook Live, and that's it.
Yeah.
So he started that, started calling it, whatever, radio, TV. And he went to this organization, one of the luncheons, and he's introducing himself to everybody. And he finds out that, I'm involved with some of the leadership there. And he starts telling everyone, oh, yeah, I do, same thing that Matt does. I do the exact same thing. So he's going, shaking hands, saying that to everyone. Finally, he gets to the president of the organization, tells the president the exact same thing. The president looks at him and is like, no, you don't. You don't do the same thing Matt does. And it's not that I don't wish well for people.
Right.
It's just come up with your own stuff. Like, be original. Try, just figure stuff out for yourself. Don't try to just replicate what I'm doing. Yeah. And, that's a pet peeve of mine.
Well, it's like what I like to say is what comes fast, what comes fast doesn't come easy, and what's easy doesn't come fast.
Yeah.
So, again, going back to the brag where you have been a radio station for 30 plus something years already.
Yeah.
You put in that work.
Yeah.
And you're quote unquote, I know you don't like using this word, but an expert, you're experienced in this, in audios. Like I've watched you edit some audio files. You're really into it. You know what you're doing with that kind of stuff. You know what to do with a waveform to make it sound good, which is your obsession. And it's a hobby of yours that you really like doing this stuff. So again, that's why I think it's smart for you to transition and start getting into podcasts, because it's the same thing, different platforms, different strategies, but it goes back to that basic fundamental foundation of you. It's audio. You know what you're doing with it. Again, with like radio, the big brag is not a lot of people are doing what you do, because I know there's regulations. There's definitely regulations with the radio. Again, you have
a lot of regulations.
You don't only.
I am part lawyer here.
Yeah,
so.
you do. Yeah, you do love a good contracted fine print. This is true. This is another brag of Matt. If you ever have a contract that you need to get looked at and don't want to get screwed over, have a meeting with Matt. Make sure he's available, and he'll tell you the ins and outs of everything.
I will fight it.
And he will fight it. Yeah, he's really good at. He's a really good at the business and the legal side of things, which is again why you kind of surpassed, and you're still here. I think that's a testament. Let me just
Yeah.
brag on that for you. That's a testament of why you're still here, because you know how to defend yourself and you know what you're doing. And also, again, yeah, if anyone really wants to, if anyone really wants to, if anyone really wants to think that they have a radio station, I encourage them to go out to the bare land of grass and get attacked by ticks. Let's
Or get a radiation burn from a radio tower.
I'll get
or-
a yes.
It's what I like about it, and I'm glad like you got to go out to the radio site with me because you saw like there's a lot of work that it takes to get a signal to a
Equipment.
car radio.
Equipment.
It's it's a lot that creates that audio chain. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
Again, not trying to say because it's harder, it carries more weight than someone that's made it easier. You know, podcasting is so easy to get into. Anybody can do it, and I don't discourage anybody from doing something on their own like that. It's just, you know, don't try to compare apples to apples when there's a difference.
And again,
that's my main beef.
And again, you're not weighing one or the other, but again, what I want to mention is that you're doing both, which is again, you've done the work at the beginning to start off where the old school, which is good because you have that experience, but then also you're moving into the new age and kind of doing the merger like you talked about, which is a huge deal. I think it's very exciting. It's very useful now to get into that kind of platform and that mentality that you have with audio. Okay, just really quick, I guess briefly for those who are watching or maybe watching on YouTube and seeing this, tell us a little bit of what kind of studio, what kind of equipment, what's in here in the Houston podcast studio that we're recording in right now, and what's in here and why this is such a great space for someone who wants to come in here, especially a professional maybe.
Yeah, so the studio we're in, it's a renovated studio where it used to be. This used to be our commercial production room back in the 80s, and so you had big reel-to-reels in here. The old like radio technology was in here. Then we converted it to something else, and now the latest adaptation of it has been for Houston Podcast Studio. So it's a dedicated recording studio just for podcasting. The equipment in here is the same commercial grade, broadcast grade equipment we use in our main radio studio. So you have broadcast quality mics, even, you know, the arms that they sit on are broadcast quality. The processing, I mean, there's a lot that has gone into this that we just took from the radio world, the soundproofing, things like that. So we've done a lot to make sure the audio is going to sound, you know, 100% on point. The furniture is custom made by the same carpenter that makes our furniture in our main studio, that makes some other things for us. So we custom made the furniture to make sure it looked clean, it looked professional. So nice. The whole studio is just, it was designed with podcasting in mind. It was designed to make people look good when they come in here, because what I told, you know, everybody is that this isn't about making Houston Podcast Studio look nice. This is about when you come in with your guests, you feel proud of it. You feel like, you know, hey, I have something nice and I can show or invite my guests to. It's not my bedroom or, you know, come to my living room and we'll record a podcast. Again, not knocking that. There's nothing against that.
Correct.
It's just if you're in a professional environment and you want to have a place to invite people that you're trying to do business and connect with, that's what this is designed for. And so we have the setup, we have the audio setup, and then we also have the video cameras where if you do want to take a video recording to use for YouTube, Facebook, you know, whatever platform you want to put it on, then we'll let you go ahead and take, you know, a video copy of your podcast at the same time.
Yeah, it's again, just back the brag here. What I wanted to boast about with Matt is that the space that he's built here, this kind of equipment. Again, not to knock on the DIY, the home person, because like you mentioned, it is really easy to start a podcast.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome how easy it is.
But again, I think you've opened it to anyone and everyone who wants to come check it out and start recording. But again, your special niche that you want to work on is that professional. Again, where if you want to bring someone, the idea of having a podcast and networking, using it as a network tool to come in and have a conversation with someone that's in your industry, then Matt has, I think, one of the best spaces here in Houston to actually come in here and do that. And the services that are provided here within the actual what you do here with the studio are broad. Like you do a lot for someone who wants to come here. Of course, you do have the option. We're speaking about Houston Podcast Studio, the monthly membership where you do everything for everyone. Literally, if someone just comes in here and talks to their guest and they're in and out, and then you have everything done for them. Of course, Matt does have the option of people coming here. If you already have a podcast, come record, get your file on a good quality, high quality radio quality.
Yeah.
And take it with you. Then you do whatever you want with it. Which are the two main options that are you trying to focus on. And also, I think we spoke about briefly the third option, whereas you could stream someone in or Skype someone in, right?
Yep.
And get
Skype, telephone. If they're not in Houston, you can, tap them into the podcast.
Yeah, which is huge because, again, if someone's doing business and you have partners, national or international, all they need is a internet connection, Skype, and all of a sudden here they're in the studio here with you. And you could talk about a topic or have a conversation that's really valuable to your industry, to your people and colleagues, and it shows again credibility that people, that you have a conversation, that this is your network, and it can be consumed again the way it comes in. It helps with the network. The way it comes out, it can be consumed anywhere, on demand, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and the idea is, like you said, it's designed for people who don't know how to get into podcasting, who don't know how to start, or don't want the headache.
Right.
We'll take care of everything, and the ones that already know what they're doing. Well, if you want to upgrade your game, you can either invest $30,000 in new equipment or come rent my studio hourly at a very affordable rate. So it's your decision.
Did you see that video I sent you about the YouTube? With
I forgot to no, say it again. Which one was it?
The YouTube video that I said, hey, are these your mics? Because it was like a setup that they did.
Okay, I didn't watch it yet, but I could just tell. Yeah, those are the mics.
Yeah. These are kind of mics again. And that setup, this is it's a recent setup from a big media YouTube channel that I saw, and it was showing essentially for kind of maybe someone professional, businessy, how to start up in on a basic fundamental level. I think it was like what $1,600.
I think that's what the video said, like $1,600
for everything to record the video. And but that again, you could take that kind of high end process, drop $1,600 or $30,000, and do it on your own and do it. But again, it's the service in the back end that Matt's also providing here, where you could come in here and record, everything will get done. And the main thing is being consistent in the scheduling, because that's the output of it. You're able to do that on your end where you could produce. And if someone wants a podcast out every Tuesday, boom, it's done for the month. And if you're going at it for 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, then people will start realizing the monetization of this platform, which is a big deal too for some people who get on and do here. So you have sponsorship and you have ads and commercials that will start bringing you back some of the money that you're putting into, I would say, a small fee here at the station that you have here.
Yeah. And again, we're a radio station. So do you need a commercial produced? Sure. We can take care of that.
Oh, yeah. Matt has all the tools here to produce and get it done, from where if you're concentrating on the podcast, even we've talked about this adding as a service of the marketing of your podcast. You have connections here and you have resources to where if you need graphics, if you need audio, if you've ever seen those little fancy waveform things that people use on social media to promote their podcasts. Yeah, the audiograms, that's what they're called. Matt has the people and resources here to actually produce those for you. So it's all in one stop shop where you come in here and all you have to do is sit down and record with the guest. I think it's a no-brainer. Again, I think if you're listening to this will come out pretty soon in September 2019. Then if you're still listening to this, that Matt, those services will still be continuing because it is a good service. You're catching a really good wave, audio wave.
If you're listening to this podcast a year later, I hope I'm still in business.
comment something a year later.
Comment September 2020. How's Houston Podcast Studio
doing? How's Matt doing now? He was talking a lot of big game on that.
How gray is my hair in 2020?
On that bragging show. Matt, I think, well, briefly, okay, here's another brag that I briefly want to talk about before we can wrap up is something outside of business, your work that you love to do. We could talk on a couple things because actually, just popped up another brag in my head. Some of your hobbies. So you're a big fisher, right? You're an avid fisherman,
yes,
so to speak.
Pre-kids, more so than post-kids, but yes.
Kids. But you still try to get out and fish. Real quick, just give me one of your coolest or biggest catch fish stories that you have.
I'll tell you, my favorite story, I think, was probably my last fishing trip before my kids were born.
Yeah.
So I had planned this trip. So I'm a big believer in I don't like to be lucky. Okay. I like to have a plan and I like to execute on the plan.
You do your research.
Yeah. And so watching sports games, I'd much rather watch my Rocket. I love watching Rockets. I'd much rather watch them execute a well-played game than get a lucky win at the end. So It was right before my kids were born. I was like going out where I was like, okay, this is going to be my Uncle Jesse moment, jumping out of the plane before he gets married to Becky. Jose, you're not going to get that reference because
Full
you're
House.
too young.
Full
Okay,
House.
you get
Full
out
House.
of there.
Yes. You got it, dude.
It's so basically this was my moment of I
Okay.
was like, okay, this is going to be my last time to really get to go fishing before my triplets were born.
Yeah.
So I had made a plan that it's during the season where this breed of shark comes through the surf twice a year.
Okay.
And I had never caught, I've caught, plenty of sharks out of the surf before. So I enjoy surf fishing off the beach for sharks.
Okay.
But there's this one breed of shark that I never had gotten to catch, and they usually grow a little bit larger.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I really want to catch this
One of
type of shark. And so I went out there with the plan. It was just me by myself, which makes it really hard because usually you want at least 2 people when you're shark fishing off the beach. But I was like, you know what?
I'll do it.
I have a plan in my mind. Now you will.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was just by myself. So
Well, I'm saying that's what you were thinking. You'll do it. I'll do
yeah,
it myself.
yeah. So I made a plan. I was like, okay, I think I know how I can do it. I think I know how I can catch it by myself, how I can release it by myself, and how I can take the picture by myself if I happen to catch one of these. And so I came prepared with everything. Again, this was pre-fancy newer iPhones or
Yeah.
whatever. So I still had what was it, snap and shoot? The
point and shoot.
point and shoot, yeah.
Point and shoots,
The point and shoots. And so I went out there, got on the beach. Weather was perfect. Surf was in good condition. And so what you set up this big ass reel.
Yeah.
A lot of line on it, big hooks. You put this big piece of bait on the hook. Sometimes several hooks. And so kayak this bait out about 300 yards, 400 yards off the beach.
Yeah.
So again, I'm by myself.
By yourself.
I have the plan. I kayak out. I drop the bait in the water, come back. My rod's still, my rod holder on my truck. Set everything up. I have this harness that actually hooks up to me
Yeah.
that you hook the reel up to. It's like, this fighting belt. So I have that ready.
Basically.
I have my bolt cutters to cut the hook out of the shark's mouth if I happen to catch one. I have my tripod and the camera ready with the timer set on it. So I had everything ready. And, after an hour or so, my reel starts going off. Set the hook, and I could feel something heavy on there.
Yeah.
And so I get my gear on. It worked out. I got the hook set good, got in the rod holder, got my belt on, got the rod back harnessed up to my body. Luckily, it didn't pull me in because the other thing I should have done is tied a rope to the truck in case
Yeah.
I got towed in,
Oops.
because I'm connected to this reel that's connected to a shark in the
Right.
surf. But after about a 30-minute fight with the shark, gloves on,
Jeez.
it was one of the tougher fights I've had from the beach,
Okay.
and was able to get my first sandbar shark. So this type of shark. So I was
Okay.
able to pull it in, got it on the beach, got the hook out. It was a 7-foot sandbar shark.
Nice.
And got the picture of it on my little tripod,
Nice.
and then got it back in the water and released. And so I think that's one of my favorite memories, just because I had a plan, I executed the plan
It went as planned.
to perfection. Like
Yeah.
I did not make a single mistake in this. And so that was like one of my most proud moments in fishing. Again, just the fact too, that was my big hurrah prior to my kids
Your
being
kids,
born.
yeah. And that sounds like a decent sized shark.
Yeah,
Sandbar?
for a beach shark in
For a beach
upper Texas coast, it's pretty good. Anything over 6 feet is a good size shark for upper Texas coast.
Yeah.
Don't get me started in lower Texas coast where we have 14, 15-foot
Ooh.
sharks cruising the beach there, and people don't know it.
You need to catch some of those.
It's on my to-do list.
Do you have it? We have that picture, right, of the shark
Yes,
somewhere.
yes.
Okay, I'll make sure to post it on your after show.
Okay.
So people who watch and they're like, oh yeah, look, he did catch a shark. It's a 7-foot shark. And then the other brag that I had, that's a good fishing story, and I know you had plenty. I know you also recently, real quick, you went fishing. Was it Costa Rica or Puerto Rico?
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. That was nice too.
My
Right?
dream vacation was Costa Rica, and we got to go this last summer.
And you got to fish.
Yeah, we
That's
got to fish, and the dream fish of mine has been a rooster fish.
Yeah.
Got to catch one of those. I'm still waiting to get a replica mounted up on my wall. So
Nice.
it's been on the to-do list. I just haven't gotten around. And we saw our first marlin. I'd never seen a marlin. We were trolling for marlin and saw one come up big, probably 8-foot long marlin.
Wow.
It just came right by the boat, and those colors on it. you just
That-
see blue, purple, gold. Like when it
Ooh.
turned, it was the prettiest thing I've ever seen. So
Ooh, shiny.
yeah, so that was cool. We didn't get to jump what they call jumping it. We didn't get to jump it. We didn't land it.
Yeah.
But just seeing it behind the boat, seeing it come
Real life.
after the lures, like that was amazing.
That sounds the colors. I bet the color. You always think marlin. I think like gray, bluish, but
Because you see them dead.
okay,
That's why.
maybe that's why.
Or
just
after they're
really good.
caught, when they're live in the water, like it's amazing.
It's rainbowy.
Yeah.
Okay, the other brag on hobbies that I want to talk about. You're very big and also very avid gamer as well. You love gaming, and I just want to talk about the collection of consoles that you have at your disposal. Can you just
we were
run
playing
through?
last night.
Oh, you were playing where you
Me and Jennifer
Oh,
were
you were-
playing.
and Jen plays. That's another brag. Like, Jen, you're so awesome and cool for actually doing that. Where you guys playing?
We were playing on the GameCube.
on the GameCube. Okay,
Yeah.
run us through from like the eldest,
Yeah.
to the most recent console that you have.
So I'm a Nintendo fan.
Uh-huh.
I grew up when I was little. My dream toy console, whatever you want to call it, was to get a Nintendo, and so I got the original NES,
gray box?
Nintendo. Yeah, the gray box, and that was my best friend growing up. And so I loved it, and ever since then, like I kept buying the next gen of Nintendo. So
Okay.
when you go into my house, like my media center there to the left, so I have my original NES I've had since I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
My original Super Nintendo, again, I've had since a kid.
Right.
Next generation from there was Nintendo 64, so I had that.
Right.
Next generation from there was Nintendo GameCube, had that. That's the one we were playing last night.
Okay.
Then the Nintendo Wii, and I skipped a generation. I didn't buy the Wii U because I thought, well, this is kind
Same
of the
thing,
same thing.
yeah.
I really don't want to buy another. At some point, I will buy one just so I have it in
Have
my
it.
collection.
Yeah.
And then have the Switch now. And so, I've gone up the ladder. I have the original Game Boy.
I was about to ask.
Still
yeah,
the
if you have-
old
yeah.
big brick, the big gray brick with the green
Man, I sold
screen.
mine. I had one that was a see-through one,
Yeah.
and I sold it just because.
Was it the purple see-through?
No, it was the clear,
yeah.
clear see-through.
So I still have my Game Boy. On my wish list is what's called a Virtual Boy. It was this like display. You put your eyes in. It's all red. It's supposed to
VR.
be like 3D. Yeah.
Basically.
It was apparently the worst thing ever and killed your eyes, but I've been wanting to buy one just so I had on the list.
Interesting.
The original Japanese versions of the Nintendos, the Famcoms, I've been wanting to buy that again, just so I can keep adding to the Nintendo collection.
And you do have, I know for Nintendo, you have the Duck Hunt, you have the pistol game, right?
Yeah, the gun, but
Yeah, the
except the gun won't work unless you have one of the old CRT square TVs because it only
Oh.
works with that kind of television.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's been no way. I'm surprised people haven't figured out how to make it work with the
Adapter, maybe an
with
adapter.
a flat screen or something. But no, it only worked with the CRT TVs.
That's interesting. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And also, did you ever have? I don't know if you told me. Did you have the trackpad on the floor for running for that game?
So I didn't have that, but I did have the Power Glove.
The power, yeah, the one,
Yeah,
that was
the one you
connected
wore, the one that was featured in the movie The Wizard.
the
Great
Thanos,
movie.
the Thanos glove.
Yeah, I never had the trackpad. There's a couple other quirky little things Nintendo based I had. We went up to New York this past summer
Yeah,
and we visited the Nintendo store. And what was funny is they had a big display showing like history of Nintendo items. And in one case alone, like huge case, I'm like, oh, I have all those.
yeah.
Like, but it has like a little tag of dates and
The
history
dates.
behind it. It's like I
Yeah.
was just sitting in my living room at
You
home.
basically have. That's what I was gonna say. And they all work, right? They're
Oh,
all
yeah.
functional. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to replace parts on the original Nintendo. I have some websites where I
But
can
you've
buy parts
done
and
it.
replace them. And
Yeah. You keep 'em.
cartridges you'll need to clean every now and then. But no, you can get it done.
And you have like I think I just saw the other day in your house the collection. You have a whole shelf of Nintendo and
Yeah,
Super Nintendo
The old games and everything. And what's neat is like I didn't have many games growing up. Like when I had a console, my parents would let me buy a console
Yeah,
and they'd let me buy one game.
that's it.
So I had one game basically for every console. But as I got older, like people kept donating games to me because they're like, oh, well, here, Matt, here's my NES games or here's my
Yeah.
Super Nintendo or 64. So it kept growing and growing.
You
So
have replicas, yeah, because you have duplicates too.
and that's all because of friends who generously have donated their old games to me.
You have quite to brag on. You have quite a collection, and it's actually awesome. And on top of that, you actually have PS4 too, right?
Which I mainly play now. That's my
the
main thing.
Yeah,
Go GTA.
GTA, yes.
It's my favorite game. GTA 5, best game ever made. Oh my god.
It's still good. I jumped
So
on. I just jumped on it.
6
on the
years
bandwagon.
later.
But
It came out when my kids were born. And 6
Jeez.
years later,
Yeah.
it's still an amazing game.
People still play it as much.
Yep.
Did we miss Matt? We're gonna wrap up. Did we miss anything?
Did we miss Matt?
Did we miss
Not
Matt?
many people do.
Did we miss Matt? Anything else that you think you want to brag on? Some other things that you've done maybe at work, or any other little story that you want to include in here?
No, this was awkward enough.
This was awkward enough. I mean, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't. You're never going to sit here. I don't think people usually typically sit here unless you're a true narcissist and think,
Yeah.
hey, this is what I'm good at. This is what I've done, and this is my accomplishment. But again, this was my goal with this, is really sit down the people that I've met and acknowledge, because especially with Matt, I've known a lot of his accolades and his feats that he's done. So I just wanted
You
to
know my feet.
your feats, not those feats, the other feats, Feats. I can spell. Just some of the big things that you've done, and really kind of put this all together and let other people know how cool you are and how cool my future guests are going to be as well.
Not as cool as me.
No, you're the pilot. You're the first one. So
That's not humble brag. That's a douchebag brag.
that's a difference. There is a difference. So thanks for pointing that out. Okay, I think we're gonna sign out with that, Matt. Is there any place? So let's give some contact or whatever information on the business, just to give you some exposure, because there's going to be hundreds of people rushing to my podcast.
Come get the podcast. No, if you want to create a podcast, visit HoustonPodcastStudio.com.
Yeah.
Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, Houston Podcast Studio IG.
Yes.
Because somehow I got messed up trying to set up the original username, so I don't know what happened, but Jose's managing that right now anyway,
Yes, I am.
so you'll be talking to him
me.
when you're on IG. Connect with me if you want. Instagram at
Matt.
Matt9. No.
What's your Instagram?
Matt 920 AM.
Okay.
So Instagram and Facebook, you can connect with me there. By the time this podcast comes out, I might have my own website. So
That's right.
you,
We're
you
working
can
on
you
that.
can kick around and see if Matt-Velasquez, VELASQUEZ.com actually is a thing.
There you go. We'll
Could be.
I'll link it somewhere. It'll
We'll
be in
see.
the links. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Matt, for helping me out start this project. I appreciate all your help and everything you do. And this is again an awesome space and studio that you have. So I'm going to be using this. Thank you for allowing me to using this as a way to kick off this project.
Yeah, I'll get your credit card later. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I'll send you the last number and my socials and everything. I think we're going to sign off with that, guys. Thanks for listening. And again, look for future episodes in the future. This is going to be on YouTube as a video. We have a split screen with Matt and an awesome little setup that helped me. And the podcast is going to be distributed. I am using Anchor, even though Matt isn't a fan of Anchor. If you want to ask him why, you could connect with him and ask him why. But it'll be on Anchor, distributed hopefully on Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, whatever the podcast you listen to. But of course, podcast. Of course, the links will be everywhere else where I'm at. Follow the show at The Humble Brag show on Instagram, Facebook, and we made a Twitter, but the Twitter is The Humble Brag 19, just because I didn't have the show.
What happened to Humble Brag 1 through 18? Those jerks.
That's
It was back the Humble Brag.
the corniest joke I've ever heard you say a couple times already. Anyway, we're going to sign off with that. So thank you, Matt. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next show.